Hi, dear ones. This is Luna here, and this podcast episode is about embracing the feminine and sensual self. So I will start by saying that, before you think that the feminine energy is only for and about women, I just want to say that actually, no, it's not true. We have the feminine energy and the masculine energy within us. All of us beings have both the feminine energy and the masculine energy. Men can also awaken their sacred feminine actually, since each individual, regardless of their gender and sexual orientation and sexuality, is animated by the feminine energy, which is also called yin, and the masculine energy, which is also called yang. So, we all represent different things, and so the feminine energy represents this sense of nurturing, surrendering, being, nature, the mother, the divine power, the moon. It's also, the feminine energy is cyclic, it's ever changing, it's connected to water. It's connected to water, but also earth, so both elements. It's nourishing, it's grounded yet fluid. It's connected to the womb space. It's also darkness, and it's also connected to our subconscious. The masculine energy is actually connected to confidence. So it's this notion of confidence. It's more ego-driven. It's willingness. It's taking action. It's the sun. It's fire and air. It's consciousness. So there's more of ego connected to the masculine. So it's really, again, all about consciousness. So I will dive a bit more into that, and I will of course dive into what the feminine energy is and why we need to cultivate it, and why it's connected to sensuality, and what is embracing your sensual self is about. So just like I mentioned, we have both within us. We have both feminine and masculine energy within us. Yet, the masculine energy is way more cultivated in our society. Not only the world has been ruled by men for centuries, but in today's society, women are in a sort of quest of equality, right? We look for equality, which ultimately leads to embodying more of the masculine energy than the feminine energy. In our everyday life, cultivating the sacred feminine allows a transformation, an awakening leading to freedom. Being aware of our divine feminine energy is really about listening to our body with honesty, to trust our intuition and the speech of our heart. It's about reclaiming ourselves, reclaiming our power. It's not a new trend, right? I really want you to understand that it's not a new trend. I know we see that everywhere on Instagram. It feels like, it seems like it's so trendy, and that, new teachers now dive into this topic, and this, even it's most of the time some teachers actually use the sexual energy and the sacred feminine energy as the core of their teachings. But it's actually a spiritual way of life. It's not just a trend. It's actually a spiritual way of life. It's a path that encourages humans to become more authentic and more raw. Oftentimes, when I hear about the divine feminine, it's all about softness and grace, which, yes, is true. But the feminine can also be immensely dark and powerful in an unapologetic way, right? And for me, that's what the feminine represents, and how I learned to embody it through my experiences. I've learned to cultivate that notion of rawness, being unapologetically myself. It's so hard to say this word. Unapologetically myself. My French is actually very much heard right now. But it's really about taking the mask off, right? Embracing the feminine is being able to find balance between the masculine ego and the feminine truth, meaning knowing when to say no and when to say yes, behaving in a non-judgmental way, understanding instead of trying to save the world, and embracing all parts of us, the good and the bad ones. And I have to clarify here that the ego, which is part of the masculine energy, is not a bad thing, right? It just needs to be well balanced. The ego can help us making decisions, it can help us taking action, while our intuition knows when something feels right and something feels wrong. This is why the feminine energy is strongly linked to senses, to sensuality. It's about befriending the body and getting to know the body. For a long time, I had issues with my own body. Issues with how it looked like, how it felt like, and the more I could distance myself from my body mentally, the better. But as many women, the opposite happens in this case. We become obsessed with looking a certain way because of the judgment happening around us. And when I'm talking about judgment, I mean the beauty standards that society and the media have been highlighting. It is judgment. It's a form of judgment towards women who don't look the same. I have to say that. It is a form of judgment. And we've been praising certain diets, certain body types, and it still is very much present on social media, unfortunately. For years, for example, I was not loving my hips. No wonder the hip space holds the very core of the divine feminine. The curves, the movement. The hip space represents the natural movement of life, in my opinion. They embody the ebbs and flows, the fluid function of the legs, of the feet, the pelvic area, including the health of the womb. And that's why many of us have a hard time embracing our curves, when actually they are the most beautiful definition of the divine feminine, enabling movement. And sensuality comes from movement as well. And I believe actually that it's an extension of movement and all of the senses. By definition, sensuality is a blend of senses. Sensuality is all about sensing, right? It makes sense. So that's something I was honestly not aware of for a long time until I got into my 20s, I would say. And as women, we're not taught how to sense. We're not taught about pleasure, how to feel pleasure. We're not taught about what's an orgasm, how to touch ourselves. We're even afraid of touching ourselves. And isn't it crazy? We've been feeling restricted when it comes to discovering our own body, to feel our own body. And truly, this is the core of my work today through body poetry, the blend of practices that I've created. So today, here's what I'd like you to take with you. You are allowed. I repeat, you are allowed. You are allowed to feel. You are allowed to sense every corner of your body. It is entirely yours, and no one should ever tell you what to do or not to do with it. Connecting to your body, to your womb, to your sensuality and sexuality is cultivating your divine feminine essence. The feminine sexual energy is the center and very core of our universe. Actually, every being is created from the powerhouse that is the womb space, right? A woman's nature is deep and intense. Her sexual organs are found inside her body, and it's all about depths and inner space. It's not a coincidence, right? The woman or a woman first lives her sexuality internally. Emotions, feelings, intuition. She not only lives a physical sexuality, she also lives a psychic and spiritual sexuality. So I'm coming back to saying this. For a woman to fully develop her sexuality, she must learn to know herself and acknowledge the inner layers of herself, her emotions, her feelings, her intuitive experiences, and her spiritual connections. A woman's sexuality is just like a flower, as cliche as this sounds. It opens from within, petal by petal, and when it reaches its full bloom, it begins to spread its fragrance through the sacredness that is enhanced. It becomes beauty. It's an embodiment of beauty. She heals, she nurtures, she soothes, and she inspires. Often in my workshops with women, they realize actually that they fear, or rather what they fear most, is their inner power. The power that their sacred connection with their sexual energy gives them. They realize that they're rather accessing pure creative energy. And that's scary, right? Because again, for centuries, we had no idea how to handle it. We were taught to suppress it. So we just learned to internalize things and run our life from a place of fear, as we're always told what to do and how to do things. For a woman, developing her feminine sexuality means opening herself up to the flow of her sexual energy and sensuality, which turns into creative energy. And to taste it fully, to comprehend yourself, you can't just live and experience things only according to the masculine energy, meaning performance, efficiency, achievement, goals, intellectualization. You need to truly surrender, to truly pause, to regenerate. I see so many women who keep on going and going and going, rushing through things, organizing things, planning millions of things at the same time. But hey, we don't have to. We don't have to feel powerful constantly. That's not going to, lead us to be equal. To have this equality between men and women, because again, both of us, I mean men and women, and all beings really, everyone, not only men and women, just everyone in general, everyone on earth, right, need to balance both energies. And us as women trying to always be in that achievement process will not make us equal. Actually, on the contrary, right? We will just keep on cultivating more ego and more masculine energy. So we're giving more to this masculine energy that's already ruling the world. And what I love about embodying the feminine energy is that I allow myself to be. It's really a notion of truth and rawness, and just having to or allowing myself not to apologize for whatever I feel. And I allow myself to be whatever it is, whatever is arising through me. I sometimes feel immensely creative and powerful, and other times I need a break, a true, genuine break. A time for myself, a time for my sacred self. Otherwise, what do I give? And how can I give? How can I keep on cultivating my power if I don't rejuvenate and renew my energy? Also remember that what you see on social media is not reality. When you feel that some women embody their power and run businesses like there's no tomorrow, please tell yourself that they either manage their renewal time well, or they're going straight towards a burnout. And it's not a judgment, right? Right now, what I'm saying is not a judgment. It's simply for you to understand that you don't need to become anyone or anything, or compare yourself to anyone or anything. You don't have to do things like others, because cultivating the feminine energy is all about truth. It's all about what feels true to you. If you need more rest than others, then you need more rest than others. If you have more creative juice at certain moments of your life, then you have more creative juice at certain moments of your life, so use it if it feels good. It's just all about balance and authenticity. Don't try to be authentic for others. Be authentic for yourself first. Surrender to what's true. Listen to your inner voice, to your breath, to the pace of your breath, and all of your senses. And I mean, you know what happens when you don't listen to yourself. You may become stressed and even frozen in terms of sensuality, but even sexuality, right? We all lived that for such a long time. I felt frozen. And that's also due to my trauma that maybe I will mention in another podcast episode, but for now I don't feel ready to talk about it. It's something that happened years ago, and that is very much rooted, and that has even frozen my sexuality for a long time. And you may lose your patience, your availability, your grace, your connection to who you really are when you don't embody yourself and all of the layers of yourself fully. So my lovely plums, by embracing your feminine energy, you free yourself. Yes, you free yourself. It's not something you have to achieve. It's a living reality within you that you have to take care of and give freedom to in order to bloom. We are a part of nature. We are nature. We are part of her essence. You have to recognize that at some point, right? So here's a few tips on how to connect to your sensuality. First of all, I invite you to try and caress yourself. And no, it's not weird. No, it's not weird. It's normal. Why do men do this so intuitively and so naturally when us women, we have to kind of hide? You don't have to hide anything. I just want you to know, before I start diving into all of the forms of connection, please be aware that everything here is natural. It's natural, it's part of us beings, right? So you don't have to be ashamed of touching yourself. Actually, it's very much needed in order for you to feel free. Okay? It's needed in order for you to feel free. That's what sensuality is about. That's what embracing your divine feminine is about. It's about freedom, liberation. Right? So let's go back to it. Caress yourself. You can explore yourself in a delicate way, in a tender way. You can appreciate the contact of your hands on your body. You can sort of slide them through your hair, on your face, even on your thighs or each corner of the body. And each corner of the body actually has its own sensation, and each movement has its specific effect, etc. So observe the feelings depending on the places and areas you touch and the things you touch them with. It can be a hand or another part of the body, but also feathers or a cashmere scarf, cotton sheets or a silk scarf. It can be anything. Caress all the materials, with all the materials you have around you, whatever you have, and feel the sensations of touch and what it gives you. Another connection is massage. So massaging yourself. You can massage yourself with oils and creams, and you can just close your eyes and even massage, the area around your ears or your skull. Or it doesn't have to be sexual, right? It's just about sensuality, so sensing. So how does it feel to just pamper yourself and be kind to yourself? The way you touch yourself is so incredibly important. It's exactly how, a definition of how you touch others, actually, right? You can also burn incense because of the smoke and how it smells. It can stimulate your senses. It can be also sage as well. This is an ancestral ritual. You can also use perfumes and smell different things or light up a candle. It's also nice to go and see stuff. That's another form of connection. For me, I like to see art, go to exhibitions and see different sculptures or paintings. It's very inspirational, and that's what I love about sensuality, is that your brain remembers and it just saves things. It saves the things that you see, and sometimes it can be just random things that you see just for 1 minute or just a few seconds, and your brain remembers. And it's the same when it comes to touching yourself. Actually, when you feel pleasure, it's usually something that you remember, right? A sensation that you remember, that has always been there. And I won't dive into this now because it's a huge topic, but ancestral feelings and ancestral patterns, it's things that right? So that's why we have things that we don't like and things that we like. You can also follow, for example, on Instagram, accounts that are creative, and things that, creative work or these kind of things. This is really also a way to get in touch with your sensuality as well. Listening to music. So for me, music is huge. It really gives me the sense of freedom when it comes to sensuality. If I just play some music that awaken my senses, I like to dance and just feel, and just my body becomes more fluid. It's just so nice. So it can be music, but also sounds and noises. I know that some of us like smear sounds. Can be many things. So whatever feels nice to you, and nothing is bizarre, nothing is weird. It's just you, okay? It's just you. You don't have to be ashamed. Now, how to really awaken the senses. So here are some other tips that you can take with you today on how to awaken those senses. So it's not new, but meditation does awaken your senses when you truly connect to what is here. And meditation can be any form. It can be movement, it can be drinking your coffee in the morning, it can be just cooking, it can be anything, right? So meditation in general can be any form. I don't believe that meditation is just sitting and closing down your eyes and just staying still. That for me is not necessarily true, or it is a true form of meditation, of course, but it can be anything that feels that you can connect truly to yourself, whatever feels authentic to you. It can also take a shower, or a sensual shower, a sensual bath. It can be a nice way to also getting to know yourself, getting to know your body, getting to touch your skin, to touch yourself, really all parts of you. Another way is, you probably know this already, one of my favorite ways is dancing. I love dancing, and I strongly believe that dance is the expression of our desires. And it's not about thinking the next movement. Actually, don't think about the next movement or the next motion. Let your body express herself freely, right? You can be in your underwear alone in front of a mirror and just dance. Just let your body express herself. Oh my gosh, the number of times, the amount of times we suppress things or restrict ourselves, we contract the body. The amount of times we do that throughout the day. Gosh, please free yourself. Please free yourself. And just allow yourself. My gosh, I've already said that, but allow yourself. Move the hips, move the belly, move the shoulders. Just let yourself surrender to whatever emotion is here. Any types of dance are nice. Okay, any types of dance can be intimate and can let yourself tune into whatever is rising and to your senses. I've already said that, but lighting some candles can be also a form of awakening the senses. It's very feminine and very intimate to just be in the dark and lighting up some candles. It's a silly thing to do. It's a silly thing, to do, and it seems a bit cliche, but it's just so nice. And please try not to, when I say those things and all of these things about awakening the senses, some of these things we see on Instagram and this new trend on about that girl or whatever, please do yourself. Okay, please do yourself. You do you. You don't have to copy anyone. I know I've said that before, but you don't have to copy anyone. You don't have to necessarily do what the girls on Instagram do. Please do you, right? And of course you can get inspired and you can have your own way of doing these things and awakening your senses, but you do you, and you know what feels good, you know what feels right. Now, 3 words to take with you in order for you to cultivate your sensuality today. 1 is slowness, slow movement, and slow moments. A slow way of living. Take it slow. You don't have to rush, but it doesn't mean that everything needs to be slow. It's just that you can really just do one thing at a time. And if you have to cancel plans, or if you don't necessarily can, or you cannot rather do something on your to-do list, if you have to remove a few things or postpone a few things, allow this to happen. Everyone will survive. Okay? Everyone will survive. And if you have to, it's not if you have to, actually, please think of your well-being first. That's how we embrace the divine feminine, or the feminine in general. That's how we embrace these 2 parts of ourselves, both the masculine and the feminine. The masculine will eventually achieve things during the day, but the feminine will say, okay, stop now. I just need a break. Now I just need to take time for myself. True time, genuine time for myself. The second word is awareness. Become more aware of your own sensations, of your own needs. And the third word is time. All takes time and patience. Time is the gift of life. And time allows curiosity. And I will end this episode on this phrase. It allows curiosity. So thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode today. I invite you to take a look at my online studio, Body Poetry. It's where I teach embodied and feminine yoga flows and also dance practices. And if you have any questions or any feedback, please feel free to message me on Instagram at Luna Josephine. And I truly hope to see you soon. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. I loved writing about it. I loved recording it. So yeah, just hope to see you soon. And I wish you a lovely day or a lovely evening, whatever time it is, and wherever you're listening to me right now.